Hi and welcome to part 4 of the video series of the remodel of our half bath. In this video I'll be showing you how I made this countertop for the vanity which I created in the previous video. Thanks for watching and I hope you enjoy. Going to now take measurements. So wall to wall 36.5, and then standard for a vanity will be about 22.5. Here's the countertop made out of plywood, and I used some maple for the front edge and just rounded it off, and some plywood also for the backsplashes. So next step would be to finish the edges of the plywood with Bondo and any imperfections. So I have all the plywood pieces prepared for the backsplashes and the top. So I'm going to use some of this all-purpose Bondo putty to do the edges so it's nice and smooth. So I'll get started with that. After that we'll do light sanding on the Bondo, and then we'll be ready to start the epoxy steps. It's my first time using this stuff, so it says to do small quantities at a time. So they say to do a 3-inch circle and then a 3-inch line of the hardener. And they say to mix this up by pressing on it. Okay, just do a little bit at a time. Mix this up. And I hope that's good. So do the edges. I did mark like front and top. I used 120 grit sandpaper, and it's very easy to sand off, so I'm not sure how much use that Bondo is, but anyways, it's something. I think, again, I had this plywood on hand. I think if I was to do it again and go and buy some MDF, then it'd be smooth already, but hopefully the undercoat paint will cover it well. Next step is to apply the stone coat epoxy undercoat. I got the white, so they recommend 2 coats, so I'll start with that. Note I have this countertop for the vanity, which I did in part 2 of the series. I also have 2 other countertops for the shop here in the garage and one in the laundry room. So hopefully I have enough to do 2 coats of that. I'll start this one because this is the most important one. First coat is now completed. It says to wait a minimum of 3 hours, and then I'll do a second coat. So now I'm ready to do my countertops with the first step of epoxy. One thing most videos don't tell you, you really need it to be level, so I made sure all my countertops were level. Next step will be to mix the epoxy. Note I'm doing 3 countertops. One is the bath for the cabinet that I made. Second one is in our laundry room, just a small counter. And third is in my garage workshop. I calculated the surface area for the 3 countertops to be around 20 square feet. So they say to use 3 ounces per square foot, so I would need about 60 ounces if my calculations are correct. So this is 32, that's 32, 64. So I only have this size of container, so I'll have to do it in 2. So I'll start with the 1 by putting half of the resin. This Stone Coat epoxy is 1:1. So I'll do half of this container, which will be like 500 milliliters. It should be half of this one. Well, actually, it looks like a lot more than half. Okay, then same amount of this one. The B hardener. And this white metallic. They don't really tell you the portions, so I'm just going to start with 5 and then little spoonfuls. See what it looks like and then add more. Start with that. Now I'll start mixing with the drill, they say for 2 minutes. I think I just got to add a little bit of white dye to make it a little whiter. So now I'm ready to start a pour. Just put it all in the middle to start. Spread it around with the 1/8 trowel. Then next they say to use a chop brush to flatten all of the trowel lines. Next, use a torch to get out the air bubbles. So here we are next day. It looks pretty good. Not perfect, but pretty good. Now, one thing I never seen in any videos was to be careful with the torch. I have a couple of places where there's a little bit of yellow, which I guess I use the torch too much. They were just going to live with it. This would require me sanding it down to get below the yellow and recoating it. But for now, we're not going to do that. Now, I did come and wipe down, but there were some drops here, so now we'll go and sand that. So before applying Stone Coat's Ultimate Top Coat, I picked the gloss resin. They say to give it a light sand with 220 grit, so I'll do that to all the pieces. After sanding, next step is to wipe it down really good. After wiping it down with the paper towel and the air compressor, still seems to be some there. I'm going to try a microfiber towel. For the top coat, they say to just roll it on something like paint, but you want to roll it on with one, and then after come back with a dry roller to take off the excess. They say to use some tape just to make sure you can get all the lint off of these rolls. The next step will be to mix the resin. For the part A, they just said make sure you shake it up before using. And this stuff, they say you have about 15-minute working time, so not as much as the other one, which was 45 minutes. So I'm going to do half of it to start. So meaning, I guess we'll do a full 8 ounces. This is 16, so half of that. Again, anytime you use epoxy, try not to mix up the caps. So I'll pour this in here. Then I'll do half of this, which would be 4 ounces. Then I'll pour the hardener into the resin. And they say mix for a few minutes. Then they say just add a little bit of water. Say about a cupful for this amount. And mix that. This stuff is white, but after it dries, it's supposed to get clear. The Stone Coat Ultimate Top Coat is now fully dried, but I don't like the way it turned out. The streaks are still there. They said that that would go away. I followed the instruction of rolling it first and then rolling it a second time over that to get rid of the excess, and then with a dry roller. But they said not to worry about the lap lines, but that they'd go away, but they kind of didn't. I'll try to buff it, but I really like the way the countertop epoxy pour went. That was beautiful, nice and smooth, except for the little bit of yellowing from when I did the torch a bit too much. I would have liked that finish much better. The top coat's supposed to be a hard finish, but for my application in the bathroom, I probably didn't need the top coat, and I wish I didn't do it. So here's the countertop for the half bath with its backsplashes. Here's one for the laundry room. And then for my garage workshop, this is my little experiment with doing veins to make it look like marble. That one I think turned out pretty good for the first try. And the backsplashes. That concludes this video for the countertop using Stone Coat epoxy. Hope you enjoyed the video, hopefully it was helpful, and hope to see you again soon. Next step will be installing them.